You ready? You ready to talk about Pantera?
I'm very excited to.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
You realize we go in chronological order, which means we have to start with the not as pleasant Pantera memories.
Oh, believe me, I have I've opened up a Word document here.
Okay,
I have this.
I got
this
my
is
notes
more
and stuff too, so yeah.
This is more work than I do for any wrestling show.
That's fair, because wrestling's not really worth a ton of extra homework right now, unfortunately.
No, I care more. Honest to God, I care more about bad Pantera than what's going on.
And since we're talking about Glamterra, I'm sure you've seen the picture, but I'm going to flash it on screen after I flash the album artwork. That picture is gold. I just sent it to you on Messenger.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's what they should look like.
I mean, Diamond just looks like $1 million.
Do you know what, though? My favorite is the choice of going with Terrence.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of it.
Nothing says,
you know what I mean?
Nothing says party like Terrence. So
yeah. Look out the way. Terrence is coming to rip this bar to shreds.
Terrence's Metal Magic is coming to your birthday party. Oh. Also, the Metal Magic artwork, the album cover, have you seen that?
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah,
I love it. Dude, the artwork to me is the least offensive thing about this album.
It is. No, I agree. I mean, the fact that this album, first of all, the album artwork looked like it was done in crayon, but I love it because it looked like it was done in crayon. Second of all, this album in 1983 was everyone's introduction to Vinnie and Dimebag and Rex.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, at this time they were kids, but it's just crazy to see the jump. And like, not to get too far ahead, but you go from like 93 to 83 to 88, and you're like, wow, this guy really found something here. He found a sound. He found something that a lot of people went on to steal. But yeah, I mean, the drumming on this, it was bad. The songwriting was obviously juvenile, but they were juveniles, so what the fuck are you going to say?
Yeah, you can't fault them too much for that. It's just the overall presentation and package of what you're getting. When you look back at what Pantera became, I don't know how high you can really rank this outside of trash, because what it is not anything from just presentation. You know, you can't. When you compare it to Phil Anselmo, you're not going to exactly be looking too good no matter what as a frontman in any type of band, rock or metal. And
no.
When you have this man right here, when you have. And then we move on to 1984, it was just barely a year later. Projects in the Jungle, and like you said, the drum work was a significant improvement, and Diamond, I am so sorry for getting that wrong. Diamond was starting to showcase a bit more, and he was doing heavy lifting. But he was doing the heavy lifting, but you could only lift that so much with the songwriting being what it was.
There was good solos on this. I remember like listening to it, I'm going, oh wow, there's actually like, you can see, whereas like by the fourth album, you see, Vinnie is really becoming the drummer that's going to be influential in the genre, like down the line.
Yeah.
This is where you're seeing like Darrell is like, I'm here. Like, I got this. I'm ready to move on. He's already there by 1984.
Yeah.
The little production nuances that made Pantera become this band that stood out so much amongst all these other bands were always kind of present. Like, the effort is there. The extra time spent on the songs is obviously there.
Right.
You get that sense of it. More so than, I'm sure at that time, there was definitely a million bands that were doing exactly what they're doing here.
So I'll ask you,
obvious.
This is definitely better than Metal Magic. Where would you put it on here, though? Because it's not bronze.
I'd have to give it aluminum.
I think that's fair, because again, this is where you could see the pieces falling into place. So I'm fine with aluminum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's totally
well, that's
fine.
it. As these albums go on, Luke, you can see the worst songs, like the bad stuff, that the mistakes that they make just being young and trying to find themselves. You see them going away.
So then we go to a year later. This was when they were churning them out. I Am the Night. I know how you feel about this. I kind of in agreement with you. This is a step down from what they at least were trying to do with Project in the Jungle. This was in one ear and out the other for me. This had nothing.
No good.
This had nothing to even sink your teeth into, even in a funny way. At least Metal Magic had funny moments, you know?
Do you know what's funny? And I noted this, speaking of funny, about this album, was there was a song on it that immediately like piqued my ears. I go, oh, because to me it sounded like from at that time, it would have been picked by a Nightmare on Elm Street movie or a Jason movie to be like the hair metal track. You know how like they would do that in the late as those movies went on,
right?
Where they got more and more silly, where for whatever reason it was like, you know, Jason's in the woods and he's killing you. Like,
like it's cool that you get that little moment out of there, but I don't even know if that was intentional. This album just had nothing for me.
It wasn't good.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
But
it's rushed.
It is. I agree, and everything was rushed. There's 3 albums in less than 3 years on the timeline that did it. So of course it's going to be rushed, especially when they were trying to follow up at least a step forward. They were probably all energetic and ready to go. Now let's do something even better this time without any practice or songs written yet. I would put this in trash just for...
Yeah, it goes in poop.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Cockapoo.
Yeah.
That's poopies.
It is.
That's Duke. That goes right in there.
It is. There's no nice way to say. But 3 years go by, almost 3 years go by, Phil Anselmo finally makes his appearance.
Philip has appeared to relieve Terrence of his duties.
Terrence decided to take his metal magic somewhere else, and Phil Anselmo completely changed the game. And it took a while for that too. Power metal came out in 88. But still, you can tell this was a big difference. And 88 is way earlier than I think a lot of people realize Pantera really started figuring things out too. Because everyone thinks Pantera, 90s. No, power metal, 88 is really when Pantera hit the scene.
Well, that's it. It's like this power metal album. I mean, Phil Anselmo sounds unbelievable here.
Yeah.
I mean, really, his vocals are really good. And for anybody that could sit there and listen to it and go, well, yeah, I mean, it's dated. But that doesn't mean it's not good.
It's still good, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many good moments in this that like would allude to it, like just still building up. Any songs that stick out for you for power metal?
Death Trap. I wrote that down. I said the song Death Trap. I'm like, this starts out with a nasty riff.
Yeah.
Nasty riff. Like just really, really good. But that's it. There was stuff on here where, once again, I mean, these were guys that were they were putting this together. And they were also doing it at a time in a climate where it's like, it was an unavoidable, like at this time, like hair metal and all this stuff. Now, granted, I was like a baby at this point.
I know.
I'm a little bit older than you, but like the reality is like, this was the gravitational pull of that music was so strong that it would be almost irresistible to anybody that was coming in up in that. And then ironically, like for me, in my generation, the pull of people like Pantera was massive.
Yeah. Like at this point now, Dimebag's becoming unhinged. He realizes he can do whatever he wants in power metal. And this is his groove. This is his sound. And he can do absolutely anything he wants and make it work. This was the album that really solidified that notion.
Well, that's it. He's figuring out his guitar work. Vinny's learning out, like, playing the drums. They finally have a singer that's just limitless.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil Anselmo is limitless.
Yeah. Where would you put power metal? Because this is way higher than the previous 3.
At least
it's not
bronze.
Gold. Yeah, it's not gold by any means.
Bronze.
But I was going to say bronze too, just because it's such a step up from everything else they'd done before, even though it doesn't come close to what would come later.
Yeah, my biggest problem with this, I think, ultimately, I mean, there was still a little bit of cheese.
There was
still some cheese.
They couldn't shed that away because Phil was coming in to what was already established as full 100% Wisconsin cheese. But I mean, the thing is, though, you could tell it was changing, and like everything was evolving. So yeah, I think bronze is very fair for power metal. And also, now we get to talk about the good Pantera albums.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes. Thank fucking God.
Oh, Cowboys from Hell is the defining Pantera. Don't you dare talk about my baby.
Oh, what a goddamn album. I mean, it's just one of those things that, regardless, once again, no matter how much people want to go back and look at these guys and find whatever they believe me, you can. If you want to hate these guys, you can find you can find a reason to hate Pantera.
These are
it's not hard.
These are not angels away from music either. So let's put that right there. We're talking about the music though, and working with Terry Dates, making this album, and Terry Dates, a phenomenal producer still, which is crazy to think about. From 1990 to 2020, 2021, he's still churning out big albums. I feel that everything they did from Cemetery Gates to the title track, this is exactly what Pantera needed to kick the door down with. By the way, it also did something that I think, and it's funny because this is like there's always like people that draw comparisons between heavy music and like hip hop, right? Yeah.
Where you hear that pretty frequently still years. Even to this day. Yeah. Where there's a point where somebody said, hey, heavy music, this is the South. Mm-hmm. Let us introduce you to another part of the Texas.
This is Texas.
All that shit.
Deep Texas.
Yeah. Dirty Texas dudes who don't own a shirt with sleeves and think that you brush your teeth with Jack Daniels long before Kesha had the idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Kesha was a Pantera fan, I'm sure.
Yeah, I bet she still is.
Actually might is. But yeah, this is this is barbecue and strip clubs on Sunday morning, Texas. This
Absolutely.
is them. So any fond highlights for you from Cowboys from Hell?
I mean, Jesus
Besides
Christ.
the entire album, I know. But
obviously, I mean, there's the Primal Concrete Sledge. Nobody made a song like that in that time.
No.
Primal Concrete Sledge is a fucking absolutely disgusting, dirty song. Awesome.
Dimebag is filthy on that. It's amazing.
So good. Domination. I mean, give me a break. Domination. That song, you just hear that and you go. You take Domination and you put it next to the Power Metal album, and you go. This was a band that was like, they're right there. They're right there. Yep. They're almost there. They almost found that, and you could almost see it. Like, I would have loved to have seen footage, or had it existed, of them playing shows from that Power Metal album to playing the Cowboys from Hell album, because I could assume on their face that aha was just coming to them like, oh, we found the thing that we are. Like,
we figured it out. Yeah.
This is it. And no one else is doing it. And it's heavy and it's powerful and it's energetic. I mean, there's so many great songs, even to the point where their biggest song on that album is arguably Cemetery Gates.
It is.
And even that.
Yeah. It's the most well known for sure. But at the same time, I would not put that at the top. I would not.
No.
Yeah. And that's saying something too. So
right.
I would put this. I would put this at gold. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Not even think twice.
Not even question. Not even a question.
See, that one's easy to rank.
Right?
Yeah. So that was 1990. They kicked the door down. Terry Date helped them figure everything out. And Phil Anselmo, everything was on fire. 2 years later, they kicked the door down again with Vulgar Display of Power.
This, man, you know what makes Vulgar Display of Power really tough to rank?
Why?
This is the only thing that makes this so goddamn tough to rank, is because it was commercially perfect. Perfect. I mean, in terms of, if you were saying to me at that time, give me a metal album that you could play in a football, just at a football stadium in front of a bunch of, that's what I'm saying. Like, you played this for if you were like back in a locker room, and I remember a kid, he was the only metal kid on the football team when I was in high school. Nice. Only one, and it was a bunch of other, like suburban jockey kids. And he was, they called him Pantera, by the way. Nice. He would play this album back there before games, like, fucking get amped up, which is good, but it also makes it really hard for me, because I sit there and I look at the following album and I go, that's it.
That's what it led to.
That is it. I mean, that's what makes it so hard, is like, I would have to put this silver only because the next album is, in my opinion, the gold standard. Yeah. That is the gold standard of heavy fucking music. So
I put gold and I put between gold and silver on my list, just because it is, I still feel Cowboys from Hell is better, but don't get me wrong, I would put Vulgar Display of Power super high above most of the other stuff. And this was Pantera's best-selling album. That is
easily,
worth pointing out too.
And by the way, I mean, you can't be a wrestling fan from that era too and not have that association with
Rob Van
Walk,
Dam. Yeah,
Rob Van Dam, Bill Alfonso coming out blowing the whistle. And by the way, long before guys would flip to give a guy a fucking headlock, Rob Van Dam would throw one flip a match and everybody there would shit their pants.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that guy. He set that tone.
He did.
He was the late 90s, and this was like beginning. This was the start of it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I begrudgingly give this silver only because as the fan that I am, I would love to give almost every one of them gold.
Yeah. I get what you're saying because I'm kind of glad you said that too, because this is the generation where things were getting rough internally for Pantera, but they were still producing such good music. And then it was in 94 when Far Beyond Driven came out. It was a #1 selling album, and it was metal. It wasn't just rock or heavy. It was a metal album that made #1 on the Billboard 200. That is massive. And this is where like you're actually starting to hear more groove too. It's not just wild solos every song. You get that, but you also get heavy rhythms, and they're killer on Far Beyond Driven.
Well, once again, I mean, that they were the definitive band of like, here's Southern metal, here's groove metal. Who else is doing this at that time? And I'm sure somebody would be able to say, you know, well, this more obscure band was doing this,
but
and
they
blah, blah,
weren't
blah.
known for it, though. They were not in everyone's eyesight. I mean, I remember when they mentioned Pantera in this era, like in Mighty Ducks 3, when the girl said, I listen to Pantera. First of all, that's adorable. Second, I mean, Pantera became a household name at this point.
There's a couple duds on Far Beyond Driven.
There are.
But the duds on there are outweighed by the shit that's just so good. That's just so good.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. Like it's the shining example of high points on an album that like overshine everything else. And again, like you brought up a great point, and this goes into the next album also, but we'll stay for here. This is a time where the biggest metal bands outside of Pantera were not sticking with what their sound was. Metallica was doing load and reload. You know, Megadeth was getting ready to venture into other territory. Even Slayer was getting ready to venture into other territory. So here comes the thing. You say gold. I was between gold and silver, but I did have it above, just a hair above Vulgar Display of Power. So would you say gold for Far Beyond Driven? And that's where I'm at too, because I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I would have to, you know what? I'm going to move it up to gold. And the reason why I'm going to move it up to gold is because it's going to be an almost even split. It's going to get close to that.
I get what you're saying, yeah. And like, again, what I loved, the thing that stuck out to me for Far Beyond Driven, just listening through, is because this was where Dimebag was real. Like, I don't have to just do solos. I can do these thick grooves for an entire song and make it magic, you know?
Gold.
Yeah.
Gold. No questions asked. I mean, you go through the lineup. Yeah. 5 Minutes Alone. Nasty. Absolutely nasty. Slaughtered. Absolutely nasty.
Slaughtered
Shedding Skin.
Like,
Becoming, I'm Broken. All these songs fucking rock, dude. Right. All of them are fucking great. I have them in front. I literally pulled them up in front of me because like I was remembering. I'm like, there's a couple duds.
There are, but not enough to warrant all the way down to like silver. Because again, I had I had like a ranking, and then I had like what I think each one should be categorized into. Because I had Far Beyond Driven a hair above Vulgar Display of Power, and I love Vulgar Display of Power. So that's why I said I do think it could be gold, just because Vulgar Display is just barely there, like the highest silver, if you ever want to think of it that way.
Well, their intention was also, and I mean, this is what they stated for years and years. We wanted every album to be heavier than the last album.
Right.
We didn't go into it with the intention of it being the best songs. We didn't go into it being with who's going to make the catchiest thing. They weren't looking for that. They were looking to get heavier. And I think that with this album, I mean, it was a success. It was a smashing success in regards to these were guys who were, and like you said, as all these bands were moving away from things being heavier, Pantera said, no. That's you want to do that? Have fun. Metallica, You want to sit there and make the Load album eventually? Fucking have fun. We're going to get heavier. We're going to get grimier.
Yeah.
And
they did.
The people that like us will like us.
Yeah. Moving on after Far Beyond Driven, 96. They got to the Great Southern Trendkill. Boy, were things rough behind the scenes for Pantera.
And it showed.
It showed. It was ugly. And it was public, too. That's what's crazy. Normally, they try to hide stuff like this, like the real world problems. No, Pantera didn't care about that. You can let us know. We'll let everyone know about our own problems and like how much chemicals we're pumping in our veins every night after each dirty show.
That's a part of it, too, where you go, man, you wish these guys had been around. And honest to God, this is pretty much the last generation of this anyways. No one else is going to, and I don't mean just Pantera, I just mean in heavy music in general, where this is not going to be a thing where they're going to sell out huge stadiums like this. It's going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
These people are going to be huge stars. It's just not going to happen again. And it's like I said, it's a bummer.
Rock and metal have to rely on festivals to really drag the people in now. Big festivals. That's it. Pantera was just doing it all. Pantera was just doing it themselves. You know?
Right, and that's it. You know, Pantera would put out a show, and there's so many people that could. And this is just, I think, the grossest comparison, and anybody that makes it should be ashamed of themselves. When people go, "Oh, Pantera," you know, like a five-finger death.
How dare you?
How fucking you just got to stop right there because
comparing Ivan Moody to Phil Anselmo is disgusting. How dare you?
It's gross. Like you should just be. And by the way, this is not sitting there and going, well, that's because Phil's like a great guy.
No, it's not that.
Just the talent level, the performance level.
Yeah.
Everything, but I see that where people are like, well, you know, they have their show. I'm like, get your stupid, shitty Red State Rock, Monster Energy sponsored
Energy garbage and
bullshit concerts. Get them out of here. That's not what this was at all. Like, just sit there and that makes me so mad, dude.
Compare a song like Flood, which I think has arguably one of the best solos of all time for Pantera, off the Great Southern Trendkill in 1996. We're talking about 96 right now. It's amazing. Compare that to any solo from Five Finger Death Punch and try to tell me they're in the same ballpark.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. And also just even like the Suicide Note songs, like the second one is so...
No, yeah, talk about a real part one and part two. Part one, groove, and it's somber, but it still has movement. Number two, the house is on fire. There's an earthquake. Everyone's gonna die. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Well, that was it. I mean, once again, at the same time, I mean, this was a time where, you know, Metallica was getting ready to release Load, and you know, where's your crown, King? Nothing. Meanwhile, over in Pantera Town, they're like, we're all dying of alcohol and heroin. Yeah. And like making these crusher songs. Yeah, they are. And, you know, that said, after laying all this complimentary shit on it, it still was not as good as Cowboys from Hell. It's still not as good.
It's not even as good as Vulgar Display of Power. And that's not to say the album's bad. It is not. But no. I was between bronze and silver on this one, and I don't.
I have to give it silver because it is better than the power metal album.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It
just is. You know,
even with its problems, even with its like it has a lot of stuff that's hard to get through. Not because the music doesn't rock. It's just because what you're hearing about literally like needle injection, total suicidal chemical death. It can be a hard listen, like a shock when you haven't heard it in a while, but at the same time, it's still strong. When they stuck up to it, like, we're going to talk about this now, this is a great one for Reinventing the Steel. This was in 2000, after all the chaos, and it was still going on, all the mess. Yep. They released this album that was really just Pantera dedicating an album to themselves and their fans, saying, hey, we've stuck it out, we're making our own music, we get it, we're not trying to be anyone else but ourselves. And Revolution is My Name, one of my favorite songs by Pantera, is on this album. So like it always holds a personal thing, even if I don't hold it as high in regards to the other albums.
Just even, and once again, it's a thing that comes off as kind of like a cheesy song because it is, it's cheesy, but like
the title alone, so
like Yesterday Don't Mean Shit. What a heavy riffs, just. nasty. I mean, so much was lost in Dimebag Darrell dying, and I know that they went on to make Damage Plan albums, and like you listen to them, and they're very new metal-y, and they're just not for me.
Yeah,
and I wasn't as crazy about them, but just as a guitarist, God damn. I mean, just even that guy half-assing, like some of the stuff you can tell.
Yeah, you could tell, like, it's not the same way where it was in Far Beyond Driven, Cowboys from Hell. And he's still blowing everything out of the water. He's doing the heavy lifting on this one, too, like I said, for, like, earlier albums. He really is doing a lot of heavy lifting on this album, too. And that's what I kind of love about it, because it is stronger for him than at least the last one or two, where some great guitar solos, but again, in Reinventing the Steel, you could tell there's more focus on the band, just wanting to do whatever they want.
Well, that's it. There's so many bands that have tried to, on some level, even slightly pantomime what Pantera has done. Obviously, like a Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Band like Pissing Razors.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're kind of like a footnote. Even earlier Machine Head, who Machine Head, ironically enough, had all that heat, obviously, with Pantera down the line and all those problems. But like, you listen to early Machine Head, and you're like, yeah, there's some Pantera in there for sure. You guys definitely like this band, but you just could not replicate what Dimebag Darrell did. You just can't.
Yeah,
and it's so natural.
And when Pantera did, and eventually dissolve after so many problems, and like when Down was created, if you like Down, that's awesome. Down is not Pantera. That's how I've always said. I stand by that, saying, well, Down's just as good. No, it's not, guys. It's not.
Down's not, in my opinion, as good.
Yeah.
Down's
sick. Great. It's just
Down's
not
sick.
Pantera, though.
But it's the same, but also the same exact thing, Luke, with Crowbar. I fucking
good. Yeah, that's a good comparison too, yeah.
Love Crowbars, like, to this day, and, you know, I haven't seen Crowbar in a few years, but I have friends that are, like, big Crowbar guys, and they'd even said to me years and years ago, they go, everybody right now treats Crowbar like a third tier, nobody, kind of like write them off, they
have to go to Europe to get any love to this point right now. So,
and they were like, in 5-10 years, everybody's gonna want to be Crowbar. Everybody's gonna want to sound like that, except they don't want it to be three giant fat guys. They want it to be cool dudes.
Yeah.
And eventually it did become that, where it was like cool dudes that wanted to sound like Entombed and Pantera and fucking Crowbar, and they all kind of came in and tried to do the sound, and they just didn't hit it as well. But yeah, I mean, if somebody was to say to me, you know, Down or Crowbar, that's kind of like the closest thing you might get to Pantera. It's like you're getting a version of that, but you're not getting them. There's nobody, in my opinion, that has been able to fully replicate Pantera and give this vibe. And that's why even an album like this, like Reinventing the Steel, I can't give it less than Silver because of that.
I said Silver on mine just because I still put it in higher rank along with Vulgar Display. So that's why I said Silver for that one too.
And honestly, truthfully, this is perfect. The line across too.
I think so,
because this is exactly. I mean, I would, in terms of like how I would rank it, I would put Far Beyond Driven. Shit, that's tough. I actually would call them equals, and then just directly in that order in Silver.
Yeah, see,
like I think boom.
And I think Cowboys from Hell is the top tier. Then it goes to Far Beyond Driven number 2, and like a close third is Vulgar Display of Power. Just because of that. So I actually think this is very appropriate for how the graphic looks and everything, you know. And also, I just want to put this out too. Look at the quality of artwork for albums as they transcend over time. Sweet mercy. Oh man. Oh, that's great.
And it's always, and then it always becomes the what if, and that's a big part of music that is both allows you to romanticize it, but to also feel very, very sad. It's in reflection, it's sad, but it also, like I said, it allows you to have that feeling of like, what if?
Yeah.
I'd rather have a what if about Pantera than a absolutely horrible. We didn't get a Saint Anger.
No.
We didn't get a Saint Anger.
We did not. Not even close either. Not even close.
And blessed be for that. We never got Pantera's embarrassing album.
Yeah, that they had to make they have to like excuse and make apologies for. That is a great statement to end that too. Joe from Wrestling Soup, Joe Numbas, anything you would like to plug besides the obvious? Go for it right now.
Yeah, I mean, go follow us, I guess. If you're yeah, I mean, if you're a music person, I don't know if you're a wrestling person too. Mm-hmm. We talk a little bit about music, not so much so as obviously as Luke's channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can follow Wrestling Soup just on any of the major streaming platforms. We mostly use Spreaker at this point. Eventually, we'll probably make our way to Twitch sooner than later. Yeah. So, but for now, that's it. It's all podcasts. Go there and yeah.
I've been listening since roughly 2012, 2011. I've been around for a long time listening to you guys, you and Mish. So link is in below in the video description. Please check that out. Finally, I've asked Joe his opinions on videos I'm making, rock stars that would make perfect wrestlers, and he gave the best example of a heel. And I'll spoil this one right now. Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse. Oh my gosh, that is horrifying, and I love it. So now I have to work I have to work on Photoshop
him coming
now.
Out.
Yeah, I have to work on Photoshop now to get like his head on Kane and Abyss's body. You know, just for that fear, that visual.
I just love the idea. Like when you mentioned that to me, I pictured him coming out with that fucking neck.
Yeah.
Just that neck, just either draped around him.
I got a big neck. I have nothing compared to this guy. This is like to my shoulders when you see how big it is, man. So, oh my gosh.
Just picture him just holding a chain. Just like, like chewing on a chain, just coming out like you do. Like that is a human that would kill me, and it would feel nothing.
Yeah. Instant death. Where would you rank all the Pantera albums? What discography should I do next? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barenfeld, Chris Stoneman, McKenna White, and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Please click the link in the video description and info card for more information. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified on upcoming videos. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.